First contact in the desert. Dr. Isabella Martinez hadn't expected anything extraordinary that night at her private observatory in the New Mexico desert. After 30 years at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, she'd chosen this remote location for her retirement, continuing her search for extraterrestrial intelligence on her own terms. The night was clear, the Milky Way stretching across the sky like scattered diamonds on black velvet. The first sign something was amiss came when her instruments detected an unusual electromagnetic surge. The readings were unlike anything she'd seen before, a pattern too precise to be natural, too complex to be human-made. As she adjusted her equipment, a brilliant azure light streaked across the sky, followed by a sound like thunder. The impact came from somewhere in the desert, no more than a mile from her observatory. Isabella's scientific curiosity overcame her caution. Grabbing her field kit and emergency medical supplies, habits from her NASA days, she drove her rugged jeep toward the coordinates she'd calculated. The crash site was hidden in a narrow arroyo. What she found there changed everything she thought she knew about humanity's place in the universe. The vessel, if that's what it was, seemed to bend light around itself, making it difficult to focus on its true shape. But more striking were its occupants. Two figures lay near the wreckage, one clearly a child, the other an adult. Their skin had a translucent quality that seemed to ripple with bioluminescence, shifting through colors like the aurora borealis. The adult was badly injured, crystalline blood seeping from several wounds. The child knelt beside them, making soft musical sounds that could only be distress calls. "I'm here to help," Isabella said softly, keeping her movements slow and deliberate. The child turned to face her, revealing multifaceted eyes that reminded her of opals. To her surprise, a voice echoed in her mind. "The others are coming. The ones who shot us down. Please, help Guardian Lyra." Isabella didn't hesitate. "My observatory has medical supplies and is shielded from most scanning technology, a requirement for sensitive astronomical equipment. Can you both move?" Working together, Isabella and the child, who called themselves Vex, managed to help Guardian Lyra into the jeep. The injured alien's skin pulsed with weak patterns of light that Isabella suspected might be their equivalent of pallor. Back at the observatory, Isabella converted her main research room into a medical bay. Her years of NASA medical training had prepared her for space emergencies, though she'd never imagined using those skills quite like this. Vex helped translate Lyra's physiology, enabling Isabella to treat the worst injuries. "We are Luminari," Vex explained while Isabella worked. "We travel the galaxy seeking peaceful contact with emerging civilizations. But others, the Shadewraith Consortium, believe younger species should be conquered or destroyed before they can reach the stars." "And they shot you down?" Isabella asked, carefully applying a regenerative compound that Vex had synthesized from their ship's medical stores. "We were to be Earth's first official contact," Lyra spoke weakly, their thoughts carrying undertones of pain and regret. "The Shadewraith learned of our mission. They want humanity's first contact to be with them, to inspire fear rather than hope." Throughout the night, Isabella learned more about the Luminari's mission of peace and their hopes for humanity. She also learned that both Vex and Lyra possessed remarkable abilities. They could share memories through touch, manipulate light and energy, and access a vast repository of ancestral knowledge. Dawn was approaching when Isabella's security systems detected multiple vehicles approaching. "Military," she confirmed, checking her monitors. "They must have tracked the crash. If they find us, if they find our technology." Lyra's concern rippled through their shared mental connection. "They won't," Isabella said firmly. She'd spent decades working on classified projects. She knew how to keep secrets. "My observatory's lower levels were built during the Cold War. There are chambers down there that don't appear on any official blueprints." As she helped her guests to the hidden rooms, Isabella reflected on the irony. She'd spent her entire career searching the stars for signs of intelligent life. Now that she'd found it, her mission wasn't to reveal their existence but to protect it, at least until the right time. The military vehicles were getting closer. Isabella could hear the helicopters now. But looking at Vex's trusting expression and Lyra's grateful glow, she knew she'd made the right choice. Sometimes the greatest discoveries weren't meant to be shared with the world immediately. Sometimes they needed to be protected, nurtured, and understood first. As she prepared to face the inevitable questioning, Isabella realized that her retirement had become something far more important, a crucial first step in humanity's true journey to the stars. Not through technology or force, but through compassion, understanding, and the simple choice to help those in need, regardless of where they came from. Safe haven. The following weeks transformed Isabella's observatory into something far more than a simple astronomical research station. While military and government teams combed the desert for signs of the meteorite, she had turned the underground Cold War bunkers into a sanctuary. Lyra's injuries were healing remarkably fast, thanks to their species' natural regenerative abilities combined with the medical knowledge Isabella had gained during her NASA training. The crystalline patterns beneath their skin now pulsed with stronger, more vibrant colors, though they still needed time to fully recover. "Your understanding of cellular repair is surprisingly compatible with our physiology," Lyra observed one evening as Isabella changed their bandages. "Perhaps our species aren't as different as they appear." Vex had proven to be an extraordinary help, their innate ability to manipulate energy fields allowing them to maintain a shield that masked their biosignatures from any scanning equipment. The young luminari spent hours by the observatory's main telescope, sharing insights about distant star systems that Isabella had spent years studying. "That cluster," Vex said, pointing to a star formation. "We have an outpost there. The nebula's radiation creates perfect conditions for our energy harvesting stations." Isabella was documenting everything, careful to encode her notes using an old cipher she developed during her classified work years. The wealth of astronomical knowledge being shared was staggering, but she knew it had to be protected. The wrong information in the wrong hands could be devastating. Her first close call with authorities came when FBI agents arrived, asking about unusual energy readings detected in the area. Isabella drew upon decades of experience handling government inquiries, explaining away the anomalies as experimental astronomical equipment she was testing. "Dr. Martinez," Agent Roberts said, studying her credentials, "your work at JPL was exemplary. But why would a retired astronomer need military-grade electromagnetic shielding? When you've spent as long as I have studying deep space phenomena, you learn that sometimes the most interesting signals are the faintest ones," she replied smoothly. "This location was chosen specifically for its natural shielding properties. I'm simply enhancing what's already here." After they left, Isabella found Vex in the main observatory dome, their skin shifting through worried shades of blue and violet. "They'll come back, won't they?" "Probably," Isabella admitted. "But we'll be ready. I didn't spend 30 years working on classified projects without learning a few things about staying under the radar." That evening, as they shared a meal, the luminari could process most Earth foods after some molecular restructuring. Lyra revealed more about their mission. "We've been watching Earth's development for centuries," they explained. "Your species has such potential, but also such capacity for destruction. The decision to make contact was debated for decades. And these Shadewraith, they want to prevent that contact? They believe emerging civilizations should be subjugated early, before they can develop interstellar travel." Lyra's skin darkened with concern. "They've done it before, to dozens of worlds. We couldn't let that happen to Earth." Isabella's security system pinged, another vehicle approaching. But this time, it was a familiar one. Dr. James Rodriguez, her old colleague from JPL, had arrived for his monthly visit to use her telescope facilities. "He can help us," Isabella decided after some thought. "James has been my friend for 20 years. He knows how to keep secrets, and we need someone with connections to the scientific community." The revelation to James was carefully staged. Even so, the renowned astrophysicist nearly fainted when Vex stepped into the light, their skin gleaming with welcome patterns. But once he recovered, his scientific curiosity took over. "The implications are staggering," he breathed, after hearing their story. "But you're right to keep this quiet. The world isn't ready for full contact, not yet." James proved to be an invaluable ally. His position at major observatories allowed him to help mask any unusual readings from Isabella's location. He also brought supplies and news from the outside world, including concerning reports of unusual aircraft being spotted in the region. "The Shadewraith are getting closer," Lyra confirmed, their recovered strength allowing them to scan farther. "They're searching methodically, sector by sector." Isabella began preparing for the inevitable confrontation. She installed additional security systems, created emergency protocols, and established escape routes. James helped by creating a network of trusted scientists who could be called upon if needed, each knowing only pieces of the larger picture. Vex, meanwhile, had taken to exploring the underground chambers, using their abilities to strengthen the structural integrity of the aging bunker systems. One day, they made an unexpected discovery. "These walls," they called out excitedly. "They're lined with a naturally occurring mineral that resonates with our energy signatures. It's similar to materials we use in our own construction." Isabella studied the readings. That might explain why this location was chosen for the observatory. Someone, somewhere, might have detected these properties decades ago. Or perhaps, Lyra suggested, their skin shimming with thoughtful patterns, this place was chosen for us, long before any of us knew it. The implications of that possibility kept Isabella awake that night. As she stood under the star-filled sky, she wondered how many other secrets the universe held, waiting to be discovered. Her life's work had been about finding evidence of alien life, and now that she realized the discovery itself wasn't the most important part. It was what came after, the trust, the understanding, the bridges being built between two vastly different species. As she watched Vex using their abilities to repair some of her old equipment, showing an innate understanding of both the technology and its purpose, she knew that this was just the beginning. The real challenge would be preparing humanity for what was to come, whether they were ready for it or not. Because somewhere out there, the Shadewraith were getting closer, and the peaceful first contact the Luminari had planned was looking less and less likely. Breaking barriers. The desert summer brought new challenges to the observatory. The increased heat meant more power usage for cooling systems, making their energy signature harder to mask. But it also brought unexpected allies. When unusual weather patterns began appearing around the observatory, side effects of Vex's energy masking field, local residents started noticing. Rather than draw suspicion, Isabella decided to embrace the attention in a controlled way. She began hosting educational astronomy nights, using these events as cover for the strange lights and energy readings that sometimes escaped their shielding. Among the regular visitors was Maria Hernandez, a local high school science teacher whose sharp mind and natural curiosity made her particularly observant. After her third visit, she pulled Isabella aside. "Those aren't normal atmospheric phenomena," Maria stated quietly, showing Isabella her notebook filled with detailed observations. "And your power consumption patterns don't match any known astronomical equipment." Instead of denying it, Isabella saw an opportunity. The Luminari had been saying they needed more human interaction to understand Earth's culture better. After careful discussion with Lyra, they decided to trust Maria. "Remember when you asked me why I believe in extraterrestrial life?" Isabella asked, leading Maria to the secure underground facility. The teacher's scientific composure cracked only slightly when Vex stepped forward, their skin glowing with friendly patterns of greeting. Maria proved to be an invaluable addition to their growing circle of allies. Her understanding of how to communicate complex scientific concepts to young minds helped them develop better ways to eventually present the reality of alien life to the public. She also helped create better cover stories for their activities, organizing legitimate scientific programs that explained away many of their unusual energy signatures. But the most unexpected development came through Maria's connection to the local Navajo community. Thomas Begay, a tribal elder and amateur astronomer, recognized patterns in the luminaries' energy manipulation that resonated with ancient stories. "Our legends speak of sky people who could bend light and share memories through touch," Thomas explained during a private meeting. "They were said to be guardians of knowledge, watching over developing worlds." Lyra's skin rippled with surprise patterns. "Your people remember us? The records show our last direct contact with Earth was over 10,000 years ago." "Stories carry truth through time," Thomas replied simply. "And some truths are too important to forget." The tribal elders' involvement provided new layers of protection. Strange lights and energy patterns around the observatory were now attributed to traditional ceremonies, giving them more freedom to test the luminaries' technology. Thomas also helped them understand Earth's complex spiritual relationship with the cosmos, adding crucial cultural context to the luminaries' preparation for eventual first contact. Meanwhile, Vex had been making extraordinary progress in adapting their technology to work with Earth's systems. Their natural ability to manipulate energy, combined with their inherited knowledge and Isabella's scientific expertise, led to breakthrough after breakthrough. "Look at this," Vex demonstrated one evening, their excitement causing their skin to pulse with bright colors. They had modified one of Isabella's old spectrometers to detect Shadewraith energy signatures. "We can track their ships now, even through their cloaking technology." The new detection system proved its worth when it revealed a disturbing pattern. The Shadewraith weren't just searching randomly, they were systematically eliminating possible hiding places, and their search pattern was drawing ever closer to the observatory. "They're more patient than we anticipated," Lyra observed, studying the tracking data. "They're being careful not to draw attention, taking their time to ensure they don't miss anything." The situation became more complex when Dr. Rodriguez reported unusual equipment being installed at major observatories across the country. "They're setting up some kind of detection grid," he warned during an encrypted video call. "Whatever it is, it's beyond any technology I've ever seen." Isabella realized they needed to accelerate their plans. The small group gathered in the underground chamber: Isabella, James via secure link, Maria, Thomas, Lyra, and Vex. Each brought unique perspectives and abilities to the challenge they faced. "We need to prepare humanity for the truth," Maria argued. "Not everyone at once, but key people who can help manage the transition." "The stories of my people can help," Thomas added. "They provide a framework for understanding, a bridge between past and future." Lyra's skin shifted through thoughtful patterns. "The Shadewraith's presence forces our hand. If they reveal themselves first, fear will dominate humanity's introduction to galactic society. Then we don't wait for them to find us," Isabella decided. "We choose the time and place ourselves. We control the narrative." They began preparing for various scenarios, each person taking on specific responsibilities. Maria developed educational materials that would help people understand and accept the reality of alien life. Thomas worked with his community to gather ancient stories that could help provide cultural context. James established a network of trusted scientific contacts who could verify and support their eventual revelations. Vex, who had grown remarkably in their understanding of human nature, worked with Maria to create demonstration protocols, safe, controlled ways to display luminary abilities that would inspire wonder rather than fear. But their careful planning was interrupted one night when all their detection systems activated simultaneously. The Shadewraith had changed tactics, dropping their subtle approach for something more direct. Multiple ships were converging on their location. "They must have finally detected our energy signature," Vex said, their skin pulsing with alarm patterns. As they rushed to implement their emergency protocols, Isabella looked around at this unlikely group, humans and aliens working together, united by a shared vision of peaceful coexistence. Whatever came next, they had already proven that cooperation between species wasn't just possible, it was natural. The Shadewraith were coming, but they would find more than just two-stranded Luminari. They would find humanity at its best, ready to stand with their new allies and defend the promise of a better future. The choice. The night the Shadewraith came, the desert sky turned an unnatural shade of purple. 3 massive ships materialized above the observatory, their hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it, creating void-like silhouettes against the star-filled sky. Isabella's security systems were overwhelmed by interference, but Vex's modifications held firm, maintaining their protective shields. The small group gathered in the underground command center they'd established, watching as smaller craft began descending from the main ships. They're deploying ground forces, Lyra observed, their skin patterns shifting rapidly as they analyzed the tactical display. But something's different about their approach. They're being obvious. They want to be seen, Thomas said quietly. They're forcing a public confrontation. He was right. Within minutes, military radar had detected the ships. Local news stations began broadcasting reports of unusual phenomena in the sky. The carefully managed revelation they had planned was about to become a chaotic global event. Isabella Martinez. A voice echoed through their minds, cold and artificial compared to the Luminari's warm telepathic touch. We know you harbor the fugitives. Surrender them, and your world will be spared the consequences of resistance. Through their monitoring systems, they watched as military aircraft approached the area, only to be disabled by invisible energy fields. Local law enforcement established a perimeter, evacuating nearby areas as news helicopters circled just outside the effect radius. They're lying, Lyra projected, their patterns showing urgent warning colors. The Shadewraith never spare worlds that resist. They're trying to turn humans against us. Maria was monitoring global communications. It's already starting. Social media is exploding with theories. Government channels are chaos. Everyone wants to know why aliens are demanding someone named Isabella Martinez. Isabella took a deep breath, decades of crisis management experience kicking in. Then we give them answers, but our version, not theirs. She activated the emergency broadcast system they'd prepared, linking into the networks James and their other allies had established. Within minutes, their message began spreading, the truth about the Luminari, their peaceful mission, and the Shadewraith's history of subjugating developing civilizations. We're getting responses, James reported via their secure channel. Scientific communities worldwide are confirming our data. The evidence we've been gathering, the proofs we prepared, they're holding up under scrutiny. But the Shadewraith had anticipated this. Their ships released clouds of nanites into the atmosphere, creating massive holographic displays visible for miles. They showed scenes of worlds burning, civilizations falling, a warning of what resistance would bring. Then came their counteroffer, broadcast globally, humanity stands at a crossroads. Align with us, and we will share power beyond imagination. Protect our enemies, and share their fate. The world watched and debated as 2 possible futures unfolded before them. The Shadewraith's display of power attracted those who believed humanity needed strength to survive among the stars. But the Luminari's message of cooperation and shared knowledge resonated with those who saw a better path. In the observatory's underground chamber, Vex made an unexpected suggestion. Let me speak to them. Not just humans, everyone. It's too dangerous, Lyra protested, their patterns showing protective concern. I am a child of both worlds now, Vex replied, their skin glowing with determination. I understand humanity in ways you don't. Let me show everyone what's possible. Isabella supported the idea. They helped Vex prepare, using their combined technology to create a broadcast that would pierce through the Shadewraith's interference. The young Luminari's message was simple but powerful. They shared memories of their time on Earth, the wonder of discovery, the joy of learning, the strength found in cooperation. They showed how humans and Luminari had worked together, combining their knowledge to create something greater than either could achieve alone. Your people stand at a turning point, Vex projected, their thoughts reaching minds across the globe. But it's not the choice the Shadewraith present. It's not between submission and destruction. It's between fear and hope. Between isolation and connection. Between what you are and what you could become. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Social media exploded with supportive messages. People began gathering in the desert around the observatory, forming a human barrier between the facility and the Shadewraith forces. Scientists worldwide began sharing data that supported the Luminari's peaceful intentions. The Shadewraith commanders, faced with this unprecedented resistance, launched a desperate attack. Their ground forces converged on the observatory, only to meet an unexpected defense. The local Navajo community, led by Thomas, had surrounded the facility, using ancient songs that resonated with the same energies the Luminari manipulated. Their ceremonies, combined with Luminari technology, created a barrier the Shadewraith couldn't penetrate. Military forces, now coordinating with Isabella's team through James's connections, positioned themselves strategically. They made it clear that any attack on the observatory would be considered an act of war against Earth itself. As the standoff intensified, Isabella watched the sensor readings with growing concern. The Shadewraith ships were powering up their main weapons. But just as it seemed conflict was inevitable, new signals appeared in orbit. The Luminari fleet, Lyra announced, their patterns bright with joy. They received our transmissions. They're here. The arrival of the Luminari ships changed everything. The Shadewraith, outmatched and exposed, had no choice but to retreat. But they left behind a world forever changed, a humanity that had chosen its path among the stars. As the chaos subsided and celebration began, Isabella looked at her unlikely family, an alien child who had bridged two cultures, their guardian who had trusted in humanity's potential, and the humans who had chosen hope over fear. Together, they had done more than prevent an invasion. They had shown what was possible when different species chose to stand together. Bridge between worlds. The weeks following the Shadewraith's retreat brought changes more dramatic than anything in human history. The arrival of the Luminari fleet in Earth's orbit had made concealment impossible, and unnecessary. Now, Isabella's observatory had become the epicenter of humanity's first official extraterrestrial diplomatic relations. The small facility that had once hidden 2 refugees now hosted representatives from every major nation, along with a growing delegation of Luminari diplomats. The desert around the observatory transformed into a temporary city of diplomatic compounds, research facilities, and media centers. "It's strange," Isabella remarked to Vex as they watched another group of diplomats arrive. "We spent so much time trying to keep everything hidden, and now we're at the center of the world's attention." Vex's skin rippled with amused patterns. Sometimes the best way to hide something is to eventually put it in plain sight. Look how well humans are adapting. Indeed, the transition had been smoother than anyone expected. The groundwork they'd laid, the network of scientists, educators, and community leaders who understood the truth, had helped manage the global revelation. Maria's educational materials were being distributed worldwide, helping people understand their new reality. Thomas and the Navajo Nation had become crucial cultural intermediaries, their ancient knowledge of previous Luminari contact helping bridge the gap between Earth's past and its future. Other indigenous communities worldwide began sharing similar stories, creating a tapestry of historical contact that helped humanity accept they'd never truly been alone. But the most significant changes were happening in the realm of science and technology. The Luminari, true to their principles of peaceful exchange, had begun sharing some of their knowledge. Dr. Rodriguez led a team of international scientists working to understand and adapt Luminari technology for human use. The key, he explained during a global conference broadcast from the observatory, isn't just the technology itself, but the philosophy behind it. The Luminari don't just build tools, they create harmonious systems that work with natural forces rather than against them. Lyra, now serving as the chief diplomatic liaison, had organized a program of gradual technological exchange. "We learned from past mistakes," they projected during a UN session. "Advanced technology without advanced wisdom can be destructive. We'll help you develop both together." The Shadewraith threat hadn't disappeared entirely. Reports of their ship still came from the edges of the solar system, but now Earth had protection. A joint defense initiative combined human military strategy with Luminari technology, creating a shield network around the planet. Vex had become something of a global icon, the young alien who had helped humanity take its first steps into galactic society. They split their time between working with human children in a new xenocultural exchange program and helping scientists understand Luminari technology. "Remember when you first found us?" Vex asked Isabella one evening as they stood in the observatory dome, now upgraded with Luminari instruments that could see far deeper into space than ever before. "You didn't hesitate to help, even though we were completely unknown to you." "It was the right thing to do," Isabella replied simply. "Though I never imagined it would lead to all this." The all this she referred to was more than just the diplomatic compound around them. It was the change in human consciousness. Countries that had been enemies for generations now worked together on joint space projects. Resources once dedicated to warfare were redirected to exploration and research. The first human Luminari joint mission was already being planned, an expedition to establish Earth's first extrasolar colony. But perhaps the most profound change was in how humanity saw itself. The knowledge that they weren't alone in the universe, that they had allies among the stars, had given people a new perspective on their own world and their place in it. 1 year to the day after the Shadewraith's retreat, a ceremony was held at the observatory. Representatives from Earth's nations gathered with Luminari diplomats to sign the Galactic Cooperation Treaty. The agreement officially welcomed humanity into the broader galactic community, while establishing protocols to protect Earth's autonomous development. During the ceremony, Isabella found herself standing with her unlikely family, Lyra, Vex, Maria, Thomas, and James. Each had played a crucial role in bringing this moment to fruition. As she watched Vex demonstrate their abilities to a group of awestruck children from around the world, she realized that this wasn't just first contact, it was the beginning of a whole new chapter in human history. "What happens now?" Maria asked, watching the celebration unfold. "Now," Lyra responded, their skin glowing with optimistic patterns, "we build something new together. Not just Luminari teaching humans, or humans learning from us, but true cooperation. There are wonders in this universe that neither of our species has discovered yet. We'll find them together." As the sun set over the desert, painting the sky in colors that seemed to match Vex's joyful patterns, Isabella looked up at the stars. They no longer represented distant mysteries to be solved, but doorways to new adventures, new friendships, and new possibilities. Humanity had taken its first real steps into the cosmic community, not through conquest or submission, but through compassion, curiosity, and courage. The story that had begun with a crashed ship in the desert had become something far greater, a testament to what was possible when different species chose to reach out to each other with hope instead of fear, with wisdom instead of weapons, with friendship instead of force. And somewhere out there, other worlds were watching, learning from Earth's example, preparing for their own first steps into a larger universe. The bridge between worlds had been built, and crossing it had changed everything.